2, 1, KenCast.
Hey everyone, welcome. Welcome to another KenCast. I hope you're all doing wonderfully today. It's exciting, right? It's the year 2023. We're in a brand new year. We have new things to look forward to, and I'm psyched. I don't know if you're psyched, but I hope you are, and please let me know in the comments. Today, what I want to do is go over some, for our Cobra Kai fans watching, some theories, some fan theories that have popped up, and we can talk about them. Are they crazy? They might be crazy. Or is there something that's legit about them? Looking forward to talking to you about all of these theories, and I want to hear if you might have some theories as well that you might think are crazy. It's okay. We're crazy here on KenCast sometimes. And so we'd love to hear your theories, and we'll talk about them. So today, I want to start by saying hello to everyone. It's great to see everyone here. AEH, wonderful to see you. Seema, hey, Ken and everyone, looking forward to live stream. Yes, good to see you. Call the Cobra, wonderful. Gene, hey, Hash Brown live stream. Yes, exactly. Tigterrysilverrocks, thank you. And Tigterrysilverrocks, thank you for being a channel member. And I also want to point out that Tigterrysilverrocks is an executive producer of this KenCast. So thank you so much for your support and for helping this KenCast to happen. What else do we have? Cobra Kai Karate, Noah, good to see you. I've been hearing some crazy theories lately. I know. And well, I might be talking with Noah here in the near future. Maybe we can talk about some theories there as well. Lisa Barrett, thank you for being a channel member, Lisa, and supporting the channel. Hello, everyone in the chat. Relectify streams, good afternoon, Ken Cole. Good afternoon, Relectify. Great to see you. Aurelio, thank you so much for being a channel member. Hi, Sensei Cole. Looking forward to crazy theories. Yes, I know. It's fun to get crazy sometimes, isn't it? I think so. Owen Richard Ellis from UK, England, Derbyshire, Chesterfield. I have seen Cobra Kai series 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, great to see you, Owen. And I'm hoping that we can add season 6 to that. Maybe season 7. Who knows? Darkest Hour, great to see you. MOTU Thunder. Hi, Ken from the UK, just to let you know. Thank you guys watching from the UK. It's wonderful to have you guys watching from across the pond. Nerd World, the thumbnail did it. I assume your theory is that Tori's mother will die? Also believe this. Interesting. We'll get into what that thumbnail means. It's possible that she could die, but it might be more of who the mother is. Sorry, Siri's talking to me. Sorry, guys. So we have got just an amazing lineup of theories for you today. And before we get into that, I want to get into our news section. So let's hit up some news.
KenCast News.
Hey guys, guess what? Cobra Kai season 6 has no news right now. We're still waiting. We nothing's been updated since last week. John Hurwitz has told us to be patient, so we're going to be patient. We have no news. This is just fun. We're speculating about what's going on with the series going forward. But for those of you who are movie fans, I thought it would be good we had this bit of sad news, and that's Owen Reitzman, who is just this amazing cinematographer, has passed away. You might recognize his work. I know some of you older viewers would probably recognize these movies a bit more, but he just was an absolute beast when it came to cinematography. Just incredible. His movies were so beautiful. He was DP for The French Connection, The Exorcist, Taking of the Pelham 1, 2, 3, Network. And actually, for those of you who are watching the Wednesday series now on Netflix, he was actually the cinematographer for the first Addams Family movie directed by Barry Sonnenfeld that featured Christina Ricci as Wednesday. So that's a bit of connection as to what's going on now. But yeah, he was just absolutely fantastic. If you have not seen any of his movies, go and pick one and watch them. They are absolutely visually stunning. And for those who haven't maybe seen one of these movies in a while, go ahead and check them out again. Highly recommend. Rest in peace, Owen Reitzman. Really a towering talent in the field of filmmaking. So that's kind of it for news today. I thought that we could kind of go into our discussion on Cobra Kai and what's going on. And so, yeah, let's just do that. Let's go into our discussion today.
KenCast discussion.
Okay, here we go. Peter wanted to update us. Also, rest in peace, Earl Bowen. This is Peter Vonasak from Cobra Kai Companion Podcast. Great to have you. Great to have you here. And oh my gosh, guys, I'm looking at all the comments, and there are so many great ideas. Everyone has wonderful ideas on different theories. Cobra Kai Karate, who has his own channel, Noah, says, I heard in my comments that Kreese will have long lost grandson in season 6, and that will be the new John Kreese. Wow. Didn't make sense to me because I don't think Kreese dating anyone else besides Betsy. Yeah, that's really kind of an interesting point. Call the Cobra. I don't think that Terry Silver is sick and dying, because if he's going to be the endgame villain, he needs to be powerful, right? Peter, giving us a bit of wisdom, says, get with it, Netflix. Renew it already. I know. That's the thing with Netflix. Honestly, they seem like a wild card sometimes. You don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to renew something, or are they going to cancel it? You know, they've been canceling shows just this past week. I forget the name of that show everyone's kind of upset about. It was a really good show. Lasted 1 season. They just kind of axed it. But I think Cobra Kai is in a different category. Huge fan base, Netflix original, such a fan following. I mean, you guys are all watching this right now because of it. So I think that has to be considered. JGSR Rhythm 100. Is everyone aware that Hillary Swank is pregnant with twins? Congrats to her. Bad timing for her. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Owen Ellis, I think Terry Silver will go to jail for life. Oh, gosh, I hope not. Well, guys, before we get into this, this is a great moment. I want to bring up the Save Silver campaign. We are making waves with the Save Silver campaign. We want to get Terry Silver out of jail. We know he really didn't do that much wrong. And so I just want to let you guys know that I am working on another piece of the Save Silver campaign. Should be coming out this week. Channel members, a finalist and above, will get to see it before everyone else. But I'm looking forward to releasing it, and hopefully it will make a very strong case for saving Terry Silver. So, I want to let you guys know we have that to look forward to. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of this going forward. Hit the like button too. It makes you feel so good. It's free. It's wonderful. And we would be very happy to have you as a subscriber in our Ken Cole community. So thank you so much for all of our subscribers and members out there right now. Arkansas Dave, great to see you. How are you doing? Wonderful. Robana, thank you for being a channel member, Robana. Netflix just renewed Wednesday, so perhaps Cobra Kai is next. I hope so. I hope so. Maybe there's something to do with, and this is just something I thought of. You guys can let me know what you think. Maybe Netflix doesn't want to announce season 6 too soon or too far before the release of season 6, because we know that, you know, maybe it'll be a longer wait, than the wait obviously for season 5, but even season 4, maybe they want to time it so it has the maximum PR impact. That's just the theory. So maybe it's already been renewed. Maybe multiple seasons have been renewed, but they're not announcing it yet because they want the maximum impact from the announcement as far as publicity. It's just an idea. Nerd World, Nick Marini, young Terry Silver will do the same prison fight like Barrett Cunningham, young John Kreese did. Interesting. I think that's an interesting idea. Yeah, it would kind of be fun to see young Terry Silver fight. Daniel, great to see you, Daniel. Wonderful. Josh, Bigfoot is the mother of Tori. That's great. Of course, Josh, that's after my own heart. You can see in the poster back there. It's one of my short films that have been making the rounds at film festivals, is Bigfoot and Me. So I love the idea of Bigfoot somehow being tied into Cobra Kai. That's great. What else do we have? Joanna Molly. Kreese will get his revenge on Daniel and Johnny for tricking him in jail. Yeah, I know. That was a rough move by Daniel and Johnny, I think. That's not going to make Kreese very happy. So, yeah, who knows what will happen. Oh yeah, Peter. Many will know him from the Terminator films. What was his name? Was it Dr. Silverstein? I think he played the psychologist doctor. I think, if I'm right. Yeah, it's another shame that we lost him. Marianella, great to see you, Marianella. There are theories that the 6th season would be confirmed and that Thomasine Griffith would sign up for the 6th season. Yes. And actually some sleuthing. We had some sleuthing from some viewers last week, and we talked about it briefly, is that Mary Page Keller, who is Thomasine Griffith's wife, has been taking pictures for Instagram stories of Thomasine Griffith walking the dog in the dark and stormy nights that we've had in Los Angeles lately, but he's had longer hair. So it looks like Thomasine Griffith might be growing out his hair. That might mean a return for Terry Silver. We shall see. Arkansas Dave, how did Kreese get tricked in jail? If you remember, that was when Johnny and Daniel were saying they were giving him, they were promising legal assistance to John Kreese, and then they refused it. Remember, they gave him the FU in the note. So that's the moment, I think. Clifford, good to see you, Clifford. I think somebody picks Kreese up outside jail because he looks around as he leaves jail. Most people make a run for it. That's a really interesting idea. I hadn't heard of that yet. The idea that maybe Kreese had already been in contact with someone to make his escape very smooth, so he wouldn't be on foot when he gets out of jail. I like it. Robana says, I heard they are already writing season 6. Well, Robana, thank you for being a channel member. We did have the Karate Kid Minute did a podcast with Bob Dearden, who is a writer-producer on the show, and he said that the writer's room would get going in February. So I think we're close. But I don't think they're officially writing it yet. I'm sure they're hatching ideas, that kind of thing. Of course, unofficially, we don't know if it's been renewed yet, but all signs are pointing to the fact that I think it will be renewed. Lucas says, Netflix got rid of the OG Karate Kid films. Yes, those films, I guess they're hot property. They have been bouncing around streaming services like crazy. And usually what happens is Netflix seems to get the films around the release of a new season of Cobra Kai just temporarily, and then they kind of go away, which, gosh, I don't have it with me, is the 4K set of Karate Kid 1, 2, and 3 is an absolute beautiful restoration of those movies. If you have a 4K player, I highly recommend getting those movies on physical media if you're a fan. I say this in general to anyone who's a fan of anything. Get it on physical media. You don't know when it's going to be bouncing around streaming services. You may want to watch it sometime. And sometimes you don't know if they're just going to pull the movie off of streaming too. So definitely, I recommend getting that. And I can wholeheartedly recommend the 4K Blu-ray set that was released last year, even though they didn't put any special features on Karate Kid 3. Not too jazzed about that. I wish Sony would do that. Hopefully it's coming. Peter says, season 4 was already in the writing process before it was announced at the end of the season 3 trailer. Right. And I think with season 4, and Peter probably knows this, more than I do, but I'm thinking in that scenario, Netflix got season 3 and they knew, I think at that point, that they were doing season 4 and season 5. So I'm thinking that they really had a great head start on that because season 3 was already produced. They had it in the bag. And so they were able to really plan seasons 4 and 5 in advance and really get a head start on writing. And I think all of that, even season 5, like look, when they announced season 5, they knew they were doing season 5 from before they started season 4, but that wasn't announced. I don't think season 5 was announced until well after season 4 came out. Is that right, Peter? You'll have to correct me on that. It was at least, I don't think they officially announced it, even though they were shooting it, if that's right. Yeah, Peter can correct me on that. Reluctify streams, no jail can hold Terry Silver completely. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Terry Silver is a very resourceful person. He knows a lot of people. He's got connections. I think it would be tough to contain him. Tigterrysilverrocks, our executive producer and channel member. Thank you so much. #SaveSilver. Yes, 100%. Well, let's do. Nerdworld says we definitely need to do a bingo card. Yeah, that's we definitely should do that. Well, guys, let's get into this. Let's get into some theories I've seen, and we can talk about them together. Okay, so the first is, of course, Terry Silver dying. Now, guys, those of you who have followed this channel know that my position on this. I think it's a bit of anti-Terry Silver propaganda. I have a whole video on this, and you can look at the link in the description and see why I think this way. But a lot of people want to say that he's dying, but I say that not only is he not dying, but that he could be testing advanced treatments for life-extending therapies. And I know some people have called me out and said, "Hey, Ken, that's unrealistic. That's silly." Well, maybe it's a little silly, but here's what I'll say. I think that look at who Terry Silver is and how much money he is, or look at how much money he has. Would Terry Silver, the billionaire, be going to the same hospital as Johnny and Carmen for his life-saving cancer therapies? No. If he had some kind of terminal disease, Terry Silver would be going to the top hospital in the world for that. He wouldn't be going to the local hospital in the valley. So I think that Terry Silver, it's very possible that Terry Silver would want to extend his life. And let's admit, every billionaire wants to do this. Every billionaire wants to put themselves in the best health, have the best medical treatment possible. And so even if Terry's not going to live another 60 years, I'm sure that he has the resources to give himself the best healthcare possible. So yeah, and of course he's Terry Silver. He can't die. But anyway, I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about this. I know I will say though that I really applaud that the people who have put the pieces together that looked at the Cobra Kai series seasons 4 and 5, looked at the clues to see, oh, maybe something's wrong with Terry. That was actually kind of a good bit of sleuthing. A lot of credit to that. And it does seem like maybe there was an idea from an interview with Thomas Ian Griffith that there was an idea for maybe something like that originally before it was cut. So I'm hopeful that because it was cut, because hopefully everyone realized how amazing a character Terry Silver is, and that we just wouldn't want him to die. We wouldn't want to live in a Miyagi-verse without Terry Silver lurking somewhere. That's just my personal feeling, my personal hope. But anyway, so that's how I feel about Terry Silver dying. Darkest Hour says maybe Terry was at the hospital looking into treatments for Tori's mom. Yeah, that's another great point. It's because she would be local to that hospital. And maybe that's another part of what Terry Silver might bring to the table in the future. Is that a way to get Tori back? It's it would really take a lot of things away if she didn't have to worry about her mom anymore. And we'll get to who her mom is in just a minute. JGRS Rhythm 100, Terry was exposed to toxic chemicals. Right. So that's a really interesting point because he was a Vietnam veteran. He may have been exposed to Agent Orange. I don't know if he was or not. I don't know special forces in Vietnam. I don't know if they were, in a different situation than a lot of other soldiers. But yes, that Agent Orange was a big deal in Vietnam, and it did have impactful, lifelong consequences. And maybe that's something that Terry Silver would be battling against. I think that's a really good point. Marianella says, I have a theory. Terry seemed pretty devastated about not having children. What if in jail he finds himself with his son that he didn't know he had? Interesting. So Terry Silver might have spawned someone who naturally didn't do well in society or skirted the law and might have landed up in jail. I don't know. It's an interesting idea. I wonder what having an unknown child would do to Terry Silver. Would it change his outlook? Would he suddenly have a legacy, that he didn't have to win the Sakai Taikai? I wonder if that would change his orientation towards everything, including Cobra Kai. It's an interesting idea. The Terry Silver having a kid. Yeah. Cobra Kai Karate. He could be just going there for a checkup, or the creators just wanted a cool scene with Silver and Johnny. But anything is possible in Cobra Kai, so who knows? Yeah, it's true. And there's the old thing about Terry Silver stalking. Terry Silver. People have made the point that in that scene, he doesn't look like he's expecting to see Johnny and Carmen there. But yeah, it's possible that he could have been kind of following their movements and purposely ran into them. Obviously, he did that with Daniel in Stingray's apartment. He's very good at surveillance. He knows where to be where he needs to be, and he knows everything about everyone's business. So so that's interesting. And it's possible too that he's obviously helping. He's a philanthropist. That's what he does. He could be arranging funding, hospital funding. Like, there are so many reasons why a billionaire could be at a hospital. And so he could be visiting patients that he's helping. You never know. Or, I like that idea that Tori's mom, maybe he's looking at helping Tori's mom too. Maybe also, I heard this one, he could be at the hospital to kind of firm up his arrangements with Stingray's care. Because remember, Stingray was in the hospital, and obviously he wanted to control that situation. And he put Stingray in the hospital. So it's possible he was in the hospital just to kind of finesse that situation, make sure everyone is tight-lipped and that everything is going, everything went according to his plan, that things aren't going to blow up in his face. It could be that too. Josh says Terry goes to the hospital because he has all the medical information about Tori's mother, Johnny's baby, and even Yagi's death. Yeah, he's the kind of guy that wants to know everything about everything. So I agree with you. I totally buy that as a reason for him being at the hospital. MOTU Thunder. Now Terry Silver is behind bars. Do you think Kreese will rebuild Cobra Kai again and get all the students back? Well, yeah, we'll talk about that. There are some crazy theories out there. We might get to one or two about what could happen. But yeah, that's a good question. What will happen with Kreese? Robana, thank you for being a channel member, Robana. I'm curious what that cut storyline was. Hopefully it'll be revealed in the deleted scenes on the Blu-ray. Yeah, I think that I think this has been completely kept away from deleted scenes. So it looks like so far they have not chosen to release any scenes like this. It's not clear to me from that interview either whether all of that was shot or if it was just in the script and they cut it at that stage. It almost sounded like it might have been shot, but yeah, it would be interesting to know. And I think if it hasn't shown up in deleted scenes, I think that's an indication that maybe, that's not part of the storyline going forward, that's kind of not they kind of rethought the storyline and that's not part of it, which would be great because we want Terry Silver around, I think. But whatever they want to do, they're very good. I know they have their plan. Owen Willis, I think that Terry Silver will go to jail, but Terry Silver has got to rehab to a new life. Let's see. I think Mike Barnes will join Daniel and Johnny. Yeah, it's interesting about Terry Silver going to jail. A lot of people think that he should go to jail, and hey, I can understand that. I mean, he's not perfect. He's done some things I'm sure he would admit he's not totally proud of, but he's not the only one, right? So I think with his money, though, the way this world works with his money, it's possible he won't be going to prison really for that long, if at all. Tammy, great to see you, Tammy. I think Terry's a very lonely man. We don't see him have a lot of friends. The only friends he really has is Kreese. And in the Army days, we never really saw him be friends with anyone like Kreese. I know we only got to see the little slivers of his life back then. Like obviously Ponytail, that maybe he was a bit of a friend, a comrade, and then Kreese was a friend and a comrade. But right, does he have other friends? Did he have friends growing up? Was he kind of isolated? Was he kind of the rich kid with no friends? What happened after the war? That type of thing. Or is Terry really the kind of person who needs friends? Does he already have everything he needs and he just uses people? I don't know. That's an interesting question. Joey says, I don't think Terry Silver will go to jail. He's too smart and rich. Yeah, let's be honest. It's just the way the world works, right? He is too smart, too rich, and well-connected. He knows the Coles. right? He knows the Coles, at least Willie Cole from Karate Kid 3, who was the DA. So, and Willie Cole seemed to want to play ball with Terry Silver back in the day. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. But you're right, he's networked really well, really well. Robana says an even better theory. Daniel turns out to be Terry's son, maybe. I don't know. That's interesting. A lot of people haven't thought about Lucille LaRusso. I am. I might make some videos. I have some ideas. We haven't really thought about Lucille LaRusso's past. I wonder what's there. I wonder what Daniel doesn't know. I don't know, because Lucille always had this. You saw her in Karate Kid 3. She meant well, but she kind of sometimes was in a bit of denial. Kind of had her blinders on. She just was focusing on what she wanted to do, and maybe that kind of personality would keep things from Daniel, especially if things didn't work out. Terry Johnson, great to see you. Hello, Ken. Been cleaning my room. Just gone. Wonderful. It's always good to clean your room. Always good to keep up everything. I'm sure Terry Silver would be proud, keeping everything nice and organized. Jean says maybe Terry is dating Allie. Ooh, and she works at the hospital now. Wow. Love it. Oh man, guys, see, I love this. We're like brainstorming. It's just these fun ideas, fun fan theories. It's great. Joe Karate says karate is a great workout. Yes, 100% agree with that. Darkest Hour. Good to see you, Darkest Hour. Kreese broke out of prison. How can he rebuild Cobra Kai or anything public without the police coming for him? It's a good question. Maybe we'll get to that in just a second. I love this. People are asking about Kreese, but we've talked about Terry Silver a lot. Let's move on. Here's another theory. Oh, look at this. Who's this? This is Julie Pierce, played by Hilary Swank. Next Karate Kid, which actually just left Netflix, which is too bad. Still has not seen a 4K release. So, Julie Pierce, a lot of people want her to come back in season 6 and beyond. But, of course, people are theorizing maybe she's already in the series. Maybe we've seen her from the back. Maybe Julie Pierce is Tory Nichols' mother. That's another theory. Is that crazy, guys? Is that a crazy theory? Well, I don't know. Let's think about this. In the next Karate Kid, we saw Julie Pierce in Boston. That's where she lived. She lived with her grandmother. That's where Miyagi was at the time. That's where she had all of her issues, was in the Boston area. So for Julie Pierce to be in Southern California, number one, it's possible. It's possible that she could have moved there over the years. Obviously, 35 years is a lot of time, or maybe is more like 30 or 25 years. That's a lot of time. And she could have moved into the Valley, sure. But I think personally, if she was in the Valley and she was terminally ill, or she was even around the LaRussos, Daniel should know who she is. And Mr. Miyagi would have met with her and both of them, especially if she was local. And she raised Tori in the Valley. So I think it's very highly likely that Daniel would know who Tori's mom is if she were Julie Pierce, and Daniel would know who Tori was already. So there wouldn't be this mystery. And I think Daniel and the LaRussos would already be helping out Tori's mom if she were Julie Pierce. That's my sense of it. So that's why I think it could be a crazy theory. It's kind of fun to think that, is that really Tori's mom? Could it be Julie Pierce? Another thing is, though, I mean, if she's really, really sick and it's Julie Pierce, if she does come back to Cobra Kai season 6, she's not going to be in fighting condition. It doesn't look like Tori's mom is in anywhere near fighting condition or able to be involved with the martial arts or teaching or anything like that. She'd basically be bedridden. And probably even if she recovered from whatever illness she had, Tori's mom would not be in top shape. She'd probably be somewhat weak for years, even if there's a full recovery. So if that is Julie Pierce, I don't know. She would be probably in a strictly non-fighting role, I would think. But, for me, I think it is kind of it's a fun theory, but I think it's a crazy theory just because if Julie Pierce has been in the Valley all these years, Daniel and the LaRussos and Mr. Miyagi, they would know she was there and they would be helping her and they would already know who Tori is. It wouldn't be a surprise. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think it's crazy? Am I missing something? Is it not that crazy? Is there something that could explain all of these things? Robana says that theory's been debunked. Julie was an only child, and we already met Tori's aunt, so I don't think it's her. Interesting. And I guess the theory would be that maybe Julie would get married, and then have Tori, and then maybe the guy ran off, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's interesting. Josh says Chozen and Kumiko know Julie Pierce. Julie Pierce traveled to Okinawa before last travel of Daniel. Okay, yeah. So that's another connection, that it seems like people should know each other, potentially, especially if Miyagi only had really two students, Daniel and Julie Pierce. So that's a very special connection that I would think Mr. Miyagi would at least talk about everyone else. Maybe they wouldn't work out to be best friends, but it seems like there should be more of a connection, more discussion going on. Darkest Hour says Julie Pierce rehabilitated a broken Hawk. Ha! Hawk. After the new champ gets beaten and broken by Silver's thugs, Karate Kid 4 types, we see her return to heal a broken Hawk. Wonderful, Darkest Hour. Wonderful. Yes. And I think, too, that was a really cool covert reference to Next Karate Kid. Of course, it worked in the show. It was beautiful. Hawk, Mohawk, wonderful. But that's kind of a fun thing that the Hawk is such a focal part of the Next Karate Kid. I love that. It's kind of like a nice reference. And yes, it would be amazing if Julie Pierce does come back and helps Hawk out. Cinema Fan 97, since Amanda is cousins with Jessica, do you think Jessica has met Julie Pierce? That's an interesting question. Because it seems like the LaRussos go over and visit with Jessica every so often, at least. I guess it would be like how much did the LaRussos hang out with Julie Pierce? I know people have speculated that Daniel and Julie Pierce would have met at least at Miyagi's funeral. But could they know each other beyond that? It's tough to know. If Julie Pierce is still based in Boston, that's where we last saw her, and Jessica is from Ohio, and then Daniel is in the Valley in Southern California, it may be that they just haven't had many chances to cross paths. Maybe they never got up to Boston. I love that idea, though. The idea that Jessica has met Julie Pierce, because Jessica knew Mr. Miyagi. That's a really important connection too. And, I'm sure that Jessica met him again or saw him again over the years, because obviously Daniel went with Amanda, who is referred by Jessica. And so, it would be cool to get Jessica's perspectives on Mr. Miyagi. And if she had kind of an interesting, unique relationship with Mr. Miyagi that everyone else didn't. So I like that. Right. Joanna said Daniel and Julie could have met at Miyagi's funeral. Yes. Very good. Nerd World said, I think she stayed in touch with Mr. Miyagi, but met Daniel on his funeral, and Daniel one day calling her, or they go to the monastery all together for training. Yeah, it's kind of a fun idea to think, what happened between Daniel and Julie once they met? Did they meet well before Miyagi's funeral? That's possible too. Did they have are they friends? Or is it something where they had like some really good days together? Maybe they spent a few days scattered through the years together, and they don't see each other that often, but there's that connection where one would be there for the other. That would be kind of cool too. Marianella says, maybe. Why don't they show her their face? There are no photos of Tori's mother. Maybe Daniel didn't know that Julie is in the Valley. Yeah, it's true. It's interesting to me though. Like, you would think that Tori's mom would talk about Mr. Miyagi, if it's Julie, because Mr. Miyagi obviously helped her, taught her, saved her life, was very important to her grandfather, a war friend from World War II. So you would think that if Julie Pierce was Tori's mom, she would tell Tori about Miyagi and Miyagi-Do and teach her about it. And so it seems like Tori doesn't know much about Miyagi-Do. When we see her, she doesn't know, there's that no recognition like, oh, this is Miyagi-Do. This is Mr. Miyagi. My mom, trained with him. I think that's maybe kind of a big, big leap. That's why I think it might be more of a crazy theory. Robana says, Hillary's pregnant, so best hope for Julie to return would most likely be through a Zoom call with Daniel. That's interesting. Well, I think from what I read, I think she's expected, the due date is expected in the springtime, and they may not go before the cameras, until at least spring. I think Bob Dearden said something like maybe writer's room in February, and then starting to shoot the season a few months after that. So a few months after February would be May. And usually these shoots last for at least a few months for an entire season. So, that would put us into the middle of summer. I think it's possible that Hilary Swank could be available theoretically sometime during that shoot. So maybe it won't be just a Zoom call. I hope not, because it's kind of funny. Like, I don't know if you've seen Glass Onion, the new Knives Out movie, and it's kind of funny how they have, Angela Lansbury and all these personalities talking with Benoit Blanc over Zoom, like they're playing a game and they're video chatting through that. That's funny. But for someone like Julie Pierce, who's such a big character and such a great actress, I hope they actually bring her onto the show properly and it's not just via a Zoom call. I hope. We'll see. Here's a wild theory. Actually, let's go to this first. Nerd World says maybe if she's still together with Eric, yes, or she will go active again after she learned that the Alpha Elite is back and working with Kreese. Ooh, I like where you're going, Nerd World. There's a theory coming up later that we can kind of get into this about Kreese and maybe the Alpha Elite. Call of the Cobra says Hector Salazar could team up with Terry Silver in season 6. Yeah, I mean, Terry Silver's used to working in developing countries, and maybe he knows of Hector Salazar. Maybe they already know each other. Wouldn't that be interesting? Yeah, and I don't think that's the last we've seen of Hector Salazar either. Just a thought. Let's see what else. Yeah, yes to a female sensei in Miyagi-Do that can take on Kim. No to the most accomplished OG actor dying in bed. Yeah, I agree. I hope she doesn't die in bed. And I hope that Tori's mom doesn't die. Hopefully that she can be helped. It seems like a lot of people involved in the Miyagi-verse have money. It would be nice if they might be able to help or at least fundraise for Tori's mom. Maybe do one of those great fundraisers Amanda's doing and wanting to be a part of. So I hope Tori's mom can be helped. This is a big thing. Julie Pierce versus Kim Da-eun. Let's see. Colonel Dugan, Terry Silver. Yes, we're gonna get to Colonel Dugan. We're gonna get to Colonel Dugan. Good to see you, Allie, with an I. I'm doing fantastic today in 2023. We're by the way, guys, I'm thinking of doing KenCast this year, kind of maybe a few more on location. And so I'll probably put up a poll at some point on YouTube to see what locations you'd like me to go to. They could be locations from the Karate Kid franchise, maybe some of the exteriors from Cobra Kai. So if you see those polls, be sure to vote on them, because whoever wins, I will go there and do a lot of KenCast live from there. So let me know. And if you have ideas, if you're watching live or in the replay, put them in the comments, and I'll take a look and we'll look at logistics and see what's feasible about going to all these different locations, because that's fun. We've done that a couple times, and that's a lot of fun. Gene says Dutch is the one waiting to pick up Kreese when he escapes. Oh, I love that. I would hope Chad McQueen. It would be amazing if he changed his mind and came back. That would be amazing. So Robana says one line from season 2 gives us a hint. It's been a long time since this dojo has had more than one student. So clearly she came to California at one point and met Daniel. Very fascinating. Great point. Great point. Okay, guys. Well, let's get on to the next crazy theory, or you can tell me if it's crazy. Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith. There are some ideas that now that we're going to the Sekai Taikai, we're going to an international event with dojos competing from around the world. If we're going there, guys, I don't know. It seems like a lot of the people involved in this on both sides have done extremely questionable things that would potentially disqualify all dojos from the Sekai Taikai. So we'll see. It seems like they're going that way. Let's assume they are. Let's say we're going international. We're going to the Sekai Taikai. Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith. The idea here would be that they would be from China, a dojo from China, appearing at the Sekai Taikai, and that would be an in. That would be a way to get these characters together. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting idea. I mean, we had Carrie Underwood, so who else could we have? I think it would really depend on a few things. Is Jaden Smith appearing in things anymore? Does he want to? Number one. Number two, Jackie Chan. Is he busy? Is he available? Is he a fan of the Cobra Kai show? Would he be open to making an appearance? The show probably doesn't have the budget to pay him like a huge fee for making an appearance. So he'd probably have to be willing to come in, just for not too much money. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting idea. Could it be distracting? Is there a point at which the celebrity cameos could be insanely distracting? Like, could Jackie Chan appear in the Cobra Kai series and not be the celebrity Jackie Chan? Because Daniel and Robbie, remember in season 1, already talked about Jackie Chan. So if Jackie Chan exists in the Cobra Kai universe, can you then have Jackie Chan appearing as a different character, not himself? I don't know. I think this would be interesting, but for the reasons I just mentioned, I think it's probably unlikely that this would happen. It's fun. I think it's a ton of fun, but for me, I think it could be a little bit on the crazy side. But let me know what you think. Is there a way this could happen? Is there a way that they could appear? OAG Edit says he's busy with Rush Hour 4. I didn't know that was shooting. Is that actually happening now? Nerd World says Jackie Chan's doing Rush Hour 4, the last I read about him. Okay. Well, I'll have to look into that. I'm a huge fan of the Rush Hour franchise. I am excited if they come back. Robana says definitely not. Most likely Jaden would be a character in the international, but not a Drake, as the writers have said that they aren't part of the Miyagi-verse. Right. I know. Yeah, that would be the tricky thing. You couldn't bring them back as characters from the remake. They would have to play other characters. So it'd be just a little Easter egg, but it's almost too big of an Easter egg. It would be such a huge blaring light of an Easter egg that it's not an Easter egg anymore. It's more like a Easter basket. I don't know. Well, but yeah, it could be distracting. Let's see. Shawana says, Dre and Mr. Han can team up with Daniel and Johnny, and Master Lee can team up with Kim. Yeah, it's kind of a fun idea. Just thinking about what could happen. I don't know though. I think we had it right before with the characters don't exist. Like the showrunners have said, those characters don't exist in this version of the Miyagi-verse. So they'd have to be playing different characters. So maybe that wouldn't quite work. It's a karate tournament, not kung fu. Yeah, that's true. That was one of the criticisms of the remake. It should have been called the Kung Fu Kid. So yeah, Lucas says, I hope that the Sekai Taikai, all the other dojos that aren't Miyagi-Do or Cobra Kai aren't just brushed off by them. They should be strong too. Yeah. Yeah, it would definitely be nice if they go there, that we really see what that international level of competition is. who are the best in the world? And that's, that's the question. If they go there, are they going to win, or are they both going to lose? It's almost hard to imagine the series going there and everyone loses. But we'll see. Maybe there is a fighter who's the best in the world. Bryce Productions, great to see you, Bryce. Mr. Han and Dre at the Sakai Taikai, with Dre fighting Miguel, would be perfect, but unfortunately it's too late because Robbie said Jackie Chan's name in season 1. Yes. Yeah, I agree. That's the tough part. He follows up. John Hurwitz said that the Karate Kid 2010 is a fictional movies and the characters in the Miyagi-verse can watch on their TVs, right? So according to the rules they've set up, if Jackie Chan were to appear in the Cobra Kai series, he would have to be playing himself because he was mentioned as an actor, as a person by Robbie in his discussion with Daniel in season 1. So yeah, that would be tough. Philip Johnson, good to see you, Philip. Do you think Bobby Brown can beat Chozen in 1986? That's a great point, because I did actually a video, which, by the way, was backed up by Ron Thomas, who is a black belt. He is a master martial artist in his own right. He appeared on William Christopher Ford's 52 Masters series on the Kaizen Dojo channel, so check all that out. So anyway, Ron Thomas is great actor, great martial artist, and I made a video actually saying that Bobby, if he hadn't been forced disqualified by Kreese, may have gone on to win the tournament. He could have beaten Johnny and he could have beaten Daniel. So the question is, if that's true, and that was supported by Ron Thomas, he said that's a very easy argument to make, which is cool. But what would happen if Bobby faced Chozen? If Bobby is that good, I think if Bobby had self-confidence, because he lacked a bit of that with John Kreese. It seemed like he kept looking to Kreese for confidence. So if he developed self-confidence, it seems like Bobby may have actually had a superior temperament to Chozen in 1986, 1985. And maybe he could have beaten him, because if Daniel could have beaten Chozen, then maybe Bobby could have. I think it would also depend upon whether Bobby might have had access to Mr. Miyagi's training, which was really cool, which is an amazing idea. I kind of wish happened, is that we would have seen Bobby train with Mr. Miyagi, because it almost seems like someone like Bobby was yearning for a mentor like Mr. Miyagi. And so I don't know, maybe that did happen. Maybe, I don't know, probably not though. We've seen Bobby in the series. He has no relationship with Daniel, so I guess it didn't happen, which is too bad. But I think especially if Bobby had access to some training from Mr. Miyagi, with the correct temperament and how to approach a fight that Daniel had, that was so important, how to focus, all those types of things, Bobby could have beaten Chozen. That's a great question. It's just another theory I guess we could get into. As Around says, Bobby Brown is inferior to Johnny, even if it's close, like 52-48, and Johnny is totally inferior to Chozen, so your math is off. Well, yeah, check out the video, though. Check out that video I made. I'm sorry I don't have it in the description. I think there's a strong case to be made that Bobby could have beaten Johnny and Daniel. And I think the evidence is all there in the first Karate Kid. And I will say, Ron Thomas, as a tournament level fighter, black belt, said that, yeah, that's a really easy case to make. He was 100% on board with that. So I don't know, kind of cool. Darkest Hour says, what better major win than the Ultimate Tournament? I know. Who would win that? That's a good question. Who would win? Is there a fighter in the Cobra Kai show in the Valley right now with our dojos that could be the best fighter in the world? If the Sakai Taikai works like that. Peter says, hi, Ken. How you doing, Peter? Good to see you. Bryce says, I think Kreese and Kim will team up at the end of season 6. Kreese joins Johnny and the rest of the good guys. And in season 6, Kim is the main villain. As for Terry, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think that's reasonable. That's a good idea. Thank you very much, Bryce Productions. So anyway, guys, before we move on, so this theory, I think it's a cool theory that Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith could appear in the in the show, especially with Sakai Taikai going international. They could appear coming from China. But I think kind of for the reasons we've talked about, that, you know, Jackie Chan was already mentioned in the series. He couldn't play a Mr. Han. You know, they'd probably be very distracting. It would be kind of a weird way to get them into the series. I think it's probably not likely, and more on the crazy side for this theory. Josh Marino says, the postman of Karate Kid 2 and his wife never visited Miyagi's house. I hope John, Hayden, and John will make his dreams come true. Oh, yeah, the poor postman. It's so funny because we had Peter Vonasak from Cobra Kai Companion. We talked all about Karate Kid 2. And Peter, of course, works for the Postal Service. And I had to ask him his opinion on this guy, this postal worker from Karate Kid 2. And, you know, Peter assures me that, you know, you would not have the mailman come up and just walk into the backyard and try to get in and with his wife and to see like that. That's kind of not happening. So that's so funny. But right, what happened to him? He was kind of old in Karate Kid 2, so I assume he's passed on. But it would be kind of funny if somehow they were able to reference him. He's a fun character at the beginning of Karate Kid 2. Zoran says, the golden trio, the top 3 students on the show are Hawk, Miguel, and Robbie, and 2 of them got their day in the sun, so it's his turn for major victory. Yeah, maybe that's the deal. Maybe they're saving that. Maybe they're saving the big victory for Robbie, you know, kind of cool. Bryce says, maybe Terry will get out of jail and still be bad, but he doesn't join Kim. He's on his own with Dennis and Snake. Yeah, that would be great. Oh my gosh. Would love to see Snake back. I hope he can come back. We need to find him. We need to find John Alvinson. And hopefully John Alvinson would be willing to come back as Snake because he did such a great job. William Christopher Ford as Dennis 100% needs to come back in some capacity. Even if Snake doesn't come back, I think Dennis needs to come back. And maybe Terry's in a position where he'll call back his old trusted employee, Dennis, to help him out. I think that would be pretty cool. Philip Johnson, say like Bobby, Johnny, Tommy, and Jimmy, they all join Mr. Miyagi after Karate Kid 2, and plus Daniel would have help because of them, so Chozen won't have good luck. Right. Ron Thomas said something along the lines of one of the considered storylines his agent told him was that Bobby would train with Mr. Miyagi in Karate Kid 2 way back. That was somehow communicated through his agent, that story was in the mix and that he could be in the second movie. But of course we know that didn't happen. And, you know, Daniel went to Okinawa. And from the way Robert Mark Kamen describes it, when they approached him to write Karate Kid 2, he immediately thought of going to Okinawa. Like that's what he did. So I don't know if that's just the studio thinking up story ideas and trying to get the actors to see what their schedules are like. But it's an interesting idea. I kind of wish we would have seen Bobby train with Mr. Miyagi. Obvious Dude says Snake comes back and is revealed to be Terry's son. Right. There were rumors about that Snake was supposed to be Terry's son. And I don't know where that started. I think that started with an internet rumor that Snake was supposed to be Snake Silver, Terry Silver's son. But we can actually disqualify that. From everything we know, from the novelization, I looked at the novelization, the Snake character, I guess you could say, in the novelization is not even named. So he's kind of a faceless thug. And also from William Christopher Ford, there were these 2 guys. And go watch my interview with William Christopher Ford. He gives so many amazing details in Karate Kid 3 that I didn't know about. But one of those was the fact that they came up to them, the 2 actors, William Christopher Ford and John Alvinson, and basically said, hey, what do you want the name of your character to be? And William Christopher Ford said, Dennis, like Dennis the Menace. That's what he was thinking. So he said, Dennis. And then John Alvinson said, Snake. You know, so they named their own characters. Obviously, there wasn't a thought of the characters being related to each other. So I think that might have been sort of a wiki rumor, an internet wiki rumor that Snake is the son of Terry Silver. But this idea from Obvious Dude is that Snake comes back and is revealed to be Terry Silver's son. You know, that would be crazy, especially if Terry employed him and didn't know that, or, you know, maybe it was hidden from him. I don't know. It's kind of a fun idea, although I'm wondering, was Snake a bit too old? I don't know. And maybe he was a little bit too old to be Terry's son. I don't know. We'll see. Mike versus Snake and Dennis. Yeah. I mean, just amazing stuff, man. All these amazing ideas. Mike Barnes joins Eagle Fang with Johnny. That would be kind of fun. It'd be really fun to see them interact. They teamed up in the season finale. It'd be interesting if they kind of formed a bit of a bond. If guys, that's another theory I've seen, you know, maybe not an official one fan theory that we've talked about, but just the fact that Mike Barnes could be in cahoots with Terry Silver. You know, things don't add up. Things are not adding up in that storyline. And I know a lot of people, we've talked about it here on KenCast, the idea that perhaps Mike Barnes might have been somehow associated with Terry Silver. I mean, he got knocked out pretty quickly in that fight, and he kind of instigated everything. For whatever reason, Kim Da-eun had the video camera of the gate ready, watching well before they got there. Explain that. Why would she do that on that night? Why would she be watching the gate? It's like they were expecting someone to come crashing through that gate. Why? Could Mike Barnes have been involved? You know, is it something where Mike Barnes is leveraged, maybe through his negligence? That fire happened at his furniture store, and, you know, Terry Silver came along and managed to fix it for him if he started working for Terry Silver. I don't know. It's be interested to get your thoughts on all that. Okay, let's move on to another theory. And if you guys watch some of my old videos, you might know this one. That's right. Colonel Dugan. Here, I'll put that up a little bigger in there. Colonel Dugan. It's possible. This is my fun, crazy fan theory, but I don't know. It's kind of fun to think about. I did a whole video on this. Colonel Dugan, could he have been the person in the cell? This is the soldier who first fought over the pit and defeated his friend or his fellow soldier, and that Terry Silver said, "Hey, how deep is that pit, man?" My own theory is perhaps that was Colonel Dugan. And an experience like that would totally mess you up. And you can look at that scene, and this guy was messed up. And, you know, the fighting style over the pit was somewhat similar to what we saw from Colonel Dugan in the next Karate Kid as well. But if this is true, and this is what some people were saying, then Kreese and Terry already may know him. Obviously, they shared a very similar experience together in the Army. We know Colonel Dugan was in the Army, maybe likely fought in Vietnam. And if he was in the same cell as Terry Silver and John Kreese, then perhaps they know each other, and maybe Kreese will go to Colonel Dugan for some help from an old war buddy, someone who he knows something about that he could psychologically control. And we had a comment from just a little while ago talking about, you know, the Alpha Elite and Kreese going and getting help from the Alpha Elite. Well, we don't know where Colonel Dugan is nowadays, but if he's still around Boston, if he's still in charge of schools or something and still creating these paramilitary organizations, you know, that could be a force to be reckoned with. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of an interesting possibility. I'm interested to get your thoughts on this. The idea that we know Kreese knows Colonel Dugan, Terry Silver knows Colonel Dugan, and that Kreese, now that he's out of jail, may approach Colonel Dugan for help. A corollary to this is the idea that Mike Barnes stole Terry Silver's Rembrandt, which was stolen from the Gardner Museum in Boston, and that Mike Barnes will go to Boston to return it, and that could lead to Boston characters like Julie Pierce or Colonel Dugan or Ned or any of the other alphas to be part of Cobra Kai. So Darkest Hour says the writing on the show is not lazy. There's always a payoff at some point. Let's see what we've got. Oh wait, I forgot. Silver was in Vietnam when Snake was born. Yeah, that's another thing too. Maybe Snake is a bit too old to be Terry Silver's son. Let's see. Josh, wow, great theory about Dugan. Actually, guys, if you want to see that, I kind of line everything up. I propose it in a video. It's in the description. You can click on it and watch that. And I kind of take the clips. The question is, does Colonel Dugan know John Kreese and Terry Silver? And so I go through all the possibilities. And at the end, I kind of look at the similarities between that character we saw in the cell in Cobra Kai season 3 in the flashback and the Colonel Dugan we saw in the next Karate Kid. And it kind of lines up. Because Colonel Dugan by far is the most unhinged villain in the Karate Kid franchise. Like, the guy has serious mental problems. He's not able to keep it together. He basically wants to kill kids. Like, he is over the top nuts. And an experience like that in Vietnam, perhaps where he's been forced to kill his friend in a POW camp over a pit of snakes, like something like that could break someone. I mean, he might be struggling with PTSD almost worse than anyone else. So that would be it'd be very interesting to have a character like that in the Cobra Kai series who might be a true loose cannon. John Kreese has it together. Like, he might have a warped view of reality, but he's organized. He's got it together. Terry Silver definitely has his act together. He's extremely organized. But Colonel Dugan, he's like barely operating in society. He is like just has one or two many screws loose. And it would be interesting to get someone like that involved. And especially if John Kreese thinks he can manipulate him, or people think he can manipulate Colonel Dugan, but maybe he can't because he's just a little too crazy. Robana says it'd be nice to see Ironside in Cobra Kai. Yeah, it would. And my dream scene, just as a fan of like all these movies and shows, is I would love a scene with Thomasine Griffith, Martin Cove, and Michael Ironside in the same scene. Can you imagine that? I think everyone's TV would explode. I mean, nothing. Yeah, that's so much energy. Cobra Kai Wisdom. Good to see you, Mike. Hey, all, is Terry Silver free yet? Mike, we're still working on it. We have a big piece coming up. Hopefully this week. I'm looking forward to releasing it. We're going to make sure he's out of jail. Cobra Kai Wisdom, Mike and I have been working on this from a legal perspective. We think it's pretty easy. JGS, thank you. Great Dugan theory. A waste of legendary actor. Horrible writing. Now redeemed. Yeah, I know it's. And guys, I don't know. Let me know what you think. Like, if you would like us, we have so many great people who we've had as guests on the KenCast, and we've had just for video discussions. I wonder if we should just sit down and have an in-depth discussion about the next Karate Kid. Would you guys like that? If so, let me know in the chat or the comments if you're watching on replay. But it'd be interesting because we really haven't touched the next Karate Kid, and it has its fans, but it seems like a lot of the fans of the LaRusso trilogy do not like the next Karate Kid. So I'm wondering if we should just go in and just do a deep discussion on the next Karate Kid at some point. If that's something you'd like to see, please let me know. And your wish is our command. JGS, I am from Boston. Great theory regarding the Gardner Museum. That, I will say again, is I just want to give credit to Talking Straight with Nate. Came up with that. I love it. It's wonderful. It fits together. Yes, so Talking Straight with Nate really came up with that. It was great. Marianella says, most likely Kreese goes to Boston for help and looks for his friend Colonel Dugan, and they realize they have a common enemy, Miyagi. Yeah. Wouldn't that be something? The thing is, like, maybe it's kind of stretching credulity, but I don't think so. Like, I think you could make the case that they knew each other from that moment, and they have very similar views towards the world, and they might have had a shared experience like that. And it would be an instant personal connection. between them. It's like you wouldn't have to do the work of trying to build up a relationship between Colonel Dugan and the Cobra Kai, entourage of Terry Silver and John Kreese and even Kim Daeun. It's possible that if Colonel Dugan was captured in that cell, that he may have also studied under Kim Daeun. And so it would really make sense, I think, potentially. I know it's crazy, but I think it works actually. So we'll see. Jay Wiggin, great to see you, Jay Wiggin, with a wonderful avatar photo of Terry Silver and the Silver Bullet. I bet Dugan knows Kreese. Maybe Kreese kept Dugan from being karate champ. Ooh, yeah, maybe so. Maybe, yeah, because John Kreese is a multi-year karate champion according to him and his picture. So it's funny that they really haven't talked about that in the Cobra Kai series, but it's true. I mean, that's a pretty big deal, pretty big accomplishment. Bryce says Dugan should return at the end of the show, and then in a movie or another show, he's the main villain. Yeah, like a spinoff. That'd be cool. He's just such an amazing, iconic actor. And there are a few of those. Like Thomasine Griffith is that. He is an amazing, iconic actor. I don't think anyone else could have brought Terry Silver to life. And we've talked at length about Thomasine Griffith and how good he is. Michael Ironside is also, he's an institution. I mean, if you're looking at 80s and 90s movies, if villains, tough guys, he just has them down. He just can intimidate, he makes you shudder just by him looking at you the wrong way. And I just imagine what that kind of energy could be like in the Cobra Kai series. JGS, Dugan equals legendary actor. Oh yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on that one. Kreese, Brian, good to see you, Brian. Kreese and Dugan joining up would be great. Yeah, that'd be fun. Owen, I was born in 1980. My birthday is on. Okay, very cool. Yeah, it's like that's a great thing about Cobra Kai is it's kind of bringing together fans from multiple eras, and it's kind of fun to see maybe what we were interested in as kids refreshed in the Cobra Kai series. James Among 007. Thank you for being a channel member, James. Great to see you. Hey, Ken. Hope you had good holidays. Thank you. Yes. I had a pretty great holiday season. It's been actually in Southern California, surprisingly rainy. We're getting like lots of rain. But it's been great. It's been a fun holiday season. I'm super psyched for 2023 and I'm psyched that you are all here with me. So it's kind of fun talking about all this stuff. Oh, Jennifer, thank you so much. Jennifer Sprague with the super chat, helping support the channel. Thank you. Keep up the great work. I tuned in late today, but was happy to still catch the live. Thank you. I'm glad that you were able to catch the live. And I think, guys, going forward, I've been kind of trying to guess what good times are for these going forward. And so I think I might make use of polls and just try to do different polls to see what times work best for you guys. And I think what I'm going to try to do is try to do one on the weekend and then another maybe in the evenings in the United States during the week. And so we'll see. We'll hone it down. We'll see if we can get some good, dependable days for these things, because I have a feeling we're going to have a lot to talk about going forward. Let's see. Nerd World says Johnny marries Carmen and Dana being the best man. That's maybe. I think that could very well happen. Shin Dark Knight Detective 2025. Ironside was awesome as Darkseid, and yes, that's the thing. Ironside is just awesome. He's really good, and I think he's a bright spot of the next Karate Kid. He obviously, as we talked about earlier, you may agree or not that the script might have been kind of on the weak side for Next Karate Kid, but he still brought a lot to that character, a lot of gravitas, a lot of menace, and really that kind of psycho quality. He really brought that really well into that movie. So very cool. Philip Johnson, because of let's see, I think I might have missed the first part of your comment, Philip, but we'll keep going. If Johnny joined Mr. Miyagi, then he's going to be more skilled because he's been in Cobra Kai 5 years. He's going to learn more defense from Mr. Miyagi. He's going to learn the drum technique. Right. So I think he could only improve under Mr. Miyagi's tutelage. And, we can talk about in the Cobra Kai series, talking about, Miyagi's all about defense and stuff like that. Well, my impression of that is that's kind of what Daniel has kind of said is Miyagi-Do. But I mean, if you look at Mr. Miyagi and what he was able to do, and you also look at Sato, who for many years was studying the same style, but it was an aggressive side of that. Like he was very offensive, Sato, and how he taught Chozen. And so I think Miyagi-Do definitely is a balance between defense and offense. Mr. Miyagi was stressing the importance of defense, but we saw that in Cobra Kai, there's this idea that, at least among the kids, maybe among Daniel, that Miyagi-Do is all about defense. And I don't think that's true. I think Miyagi-Do, Mr. Miyagi, and the way he taught, would emphasize using defense first, or that he used karate for defense. It should be used for defense. But as we saw from Chozen and his secret techniques, there's a time when, you know, you need to fight and you need to win. And obviously, if Sato and Miyagi were fighting to the death, and these other people were fighting to the death, then sometimes the only way to defend yourself would be to, unfortunately, go on the offense and kill your opponent. And so I think Miyagi-Do, and my read of it, you may disagree, my read of it is that it's balanced. You have defensive techniques and offensive techniques, but Mr. Miyagi would always stress that you shouldn't use it to go on the offensive, to strike first, to start fights, right? But once you're in a fight and you have to defend yourself, you have a mixture of defensive and offensive techniques you can use. I think that's my read on it. Tigterrysilverrocks, thank you, executive producer, channel member, champion member. This time is good in the UK. Okay, that's good. Good to know. Good to know. Dave Schrock. Here, I'll tell you something about Dave Schrock. Dave Schrock is watching. First of all, hello. He's an amazing filmmaker. You guys need to go check out his channel, Mama Atta Bullets. We need to get Dave Schrock on here very soon. He is a wealth of just film wisdom and knowledge, but also passion for Terry Silver, the Karate Kid and Cobra Kai universe. I was very fortunate to have him as a DP on Cobra Cole, which you guys should check out if you haven't seen it, with David Chatra, who's Tom Cole on Cobra Kai. My name's Ken Cole, so you can guess the kind of fun we were having with Cobra Cole. But Dave Schrock, admirer of all of these eras of filmmaking, and when Dave Schrock says something like Ironside needs a true Hollywood comeback, that means it needs to happen. So Dave Schrock has said this now. He's said this on a KenCast live with all of us. So now this has to happen. And I agree. He needs a true Hollywood comeback. And I would love for that to be in the Cobra Kai series. 100%. Let's see, Josh. Now, this is kind of an interesting question. Josh says, Stallone with his relationship with Alvinson and Martin Kove, probably a cameo as Rocky. You know, people have talked about this because the Cobra Kai creators have been willing to give cameos, it seems, to people who are fans of the series. And Sylvester Stallone has publicly come out in support of Cobra Kai. And so is it possible that we could see Sylvester Stallone in Cobra Kai? I don't know. I would think that if he showed up, like, he might not show up as Rocky, because obviously they know that's a movie in the Cobra Kai series, and Miguel and Johnny know about Rocky 3, and Johnny's trying to emulate Rocky by running on the beach and that kind of thing. So I think if Sylvester Stallone shows up, it would probably be as himself. But it would be interesting to see what would happen if that would be a motivational moment for Johnny to run into Sylvester Stallone, the guy who played Rocky. And I don't know, that would be fun. It's such a big cameo that, I don't know, you'd have to do it the right way. Like, it would have to be at the right moment, because it would definitely, I think, take people's breath away to have Johnny meeting Sylvester Stallone. But that's my guess. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? But I'm thinking if Sylvester Stallone shows up in Cobra Kai, it would be as himself. Or there might be some kind of cute thing where he's playing a character who might really look like Sylvester Stallone, or I don't know, maybe some kind of guardian angel character, maybe some dream sequence. You know, there are a lot of different different ways you could do that, but I like that idea. Maybe so. Let's see. We've got so many wonderful comments. Yodi Miyagi says, "Bring back Colonel Dugan." I agree, 100%. And so just to summarize, before we go on to the next one, so this crazy theory that, and this one I think was one I came up with a while ago, is this idea that Colonel Dugan, actually, we've seen him already in the Cobra Kai series. He was in the POW camp. He was in the cell. I have a video about that below, and that maybe Kreese will go to him for help in the Cobra Kai series going forward. Whatever that help may entail, I don't know, but kind of an interesting, fun thing to think about. Okay, so next, Mike Barnes. Okay, guys. Yeah, Mike Barnes, who I, of course, being a fan of Karate Kid 3, wish there was way more of Mike Barnes in season 5. I'm very much looking forward to seeing future appearances of Mike Barnes, hopefully very big appearances in season 6 and beyond. We've had Sean Kanan here talking about his character. Sean's obviously an amazing guy, very, very incredible with fans. He has books out, Way of the Cobra, Welcome to the Kumite. That's another one. He obviously loves this world. I think he'd love getting into martial arts action, that type of thing. But this is another thing, guys, that people have been talking about, that Mike Barnes is Tori's father. So this is another Tori parentage theory. We talked about Julie Pierce potentially being Tori's mom. This would be Mike Barnes being Tori's dad. So is this legit? Is this crazy? I don't know. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. I tend to think that we had Tori's aunt, where I come from the Northeast, so I tend to say aunt instead of aunt, but I guess it's aunt. Basically, we do know that Tori's father had a temper. And so I think people drew that connection. They're like, oh yeah, Tori's got sort of a similar temperament to Mike Barnes. Here's the deal though. Look at Mike Barnes now. He's not unbridled anger all the time. He's actually pretty well controlled. If you had met him as owner of the furniture store, you'd think he was a nice guy. So I don't think he has, at least in his current incarnation, has a similar temperament to Mike Barnes that we saw in Karate Kid 3. Another thing to remember about Karate Kid 3, and I made a whole video called Mike Barnes Master Bully, is that pretty much the entire time we saw Mike Barnes in Karate Kid 3, he was a mercenary. He was being paid. He had a job to do. And that job was to intimidate Daniel. It was to win. And so we saw him being angry, but it was always in a very controlled way. It wasn't even personal. Like he basically said that to Daniel, you're doing this to yourself. Like it's all business with him. So if he's being paid a lot of money, or he thinks he's going to be paid a lot of money, then, he's going to be angry if that's what he needs to do to intimidate. But, so I think Mike Barnes in Karate Kid 3 was actually a pretty cool customer personally, except if he needed to be angry and intimidate, he could. Now, Tori's a bit different. I think she's definitely has a temper, and her father would have a temper that could be triggered by various things. And perhaps not all business. Perhaps it sometimes got personal. So I don't know. I think from what we've seen of Mike Barnes in Cobra Kai season 5, it seems very unlikely that he would be Tori's father. It's a fun idea, but we've had so many discussions, with Peter Bonasak. We've had, of course, the great Drew Rohali. We've had Strife the Warrior. We've had Watch Party. We've had so many people on here talking about, and Cody, Strike First Media. The list is endless, talking about the parentage issue. And I think everyone sort of agrees that it's too much. Like it'd be too much of a coincidence if these older characters are all related to, or the secret parents of the kids. And I would tend to agree. So I'm going to say that this is more on the crazy side, but it's fun. Again, all these crazy theories are fun. So I don't know. What do you guys think of this whole idea of Mike Barnes? JGS says Barnes cop show parody. Bad Boy's got a contract for you. Refuse and you'll face. He'll plant with his shoe. Ken, we need to team up. I like it. Oh, that's great. I love that. And it's perfect era too. That was like the height of Cops' popularity. That's great. Josh says the House of Cobra Cole is a neighbor house of the Ennis house. Great views. Yeah, that's maybe meaning Tommy in Cobra Cole. No, that house, if that's the house you mean, the version David Shatraw, who plays Tom Cole in Cobra Kai, the character may or may not, Tom Cole. You'll have to check out Cobra Cole, but the mansion he has is actually in Encino, overlooking the valley. The Ennis house, Terry's house, is actually kind of on the other side of the mountains. It's Los Feliz, near the Griffith Observatory, that area, looking down on downtown LA in that area. So they're kind of in different areas. But that's fun. Yeah, they're both, we see both of those houses in Cobra Cole. So definitely go check that out. Fun. Thank you for referencing that. David Harris, I agree, Ken. Yeah. Now this is, we have a lot about Dutch. So Sebastian, good to see you, Sebastian, says Dutch needs to be recast. And if that's not an option, then there's no denying that Dutch is already permanently dead, because Chad McQueen has zero evidence of interest in reprising his role as Dutch. Right. Yeah, he did not have any interest back in season 2. And so they decided to put him in prison, which is kind of fun. It makes sense based on what we know of Dutch as a character. And it does seem like his daughter has said on social media that Chad McQueen is not interested, or he's not going to be returning as Dutch in the Cobra Kai series. So the question is, do you recast Dutch? Here's the trouble. Dutch was such an impactful character, such an important character to everyone. I don't know if people would like a recast. I don't know if they would accept a recast, especially because the character isn't really integral to the storylines right now. If he were an integral part of what's going on in the story of Cobra Kai, then maybe you'd recast him. But, if Dutch were to appear again, I would think, like other characters, it might only be for one or a few episodes. So at that point, is it worth recasting Dutch, or is it better to leave him in prison and have our memories of Chad McQueen's performance? Because what if fans don't like the new person? The new person might do a good job, but it might not be Chad McQueen, and it might be different. That's a very specific energy that Chad McQueen brought to Dutch. So I think you'd have to nail that in the casting. That's very tricky. So I think Dutch would have to be a major character in this series to do a recast. And I think the only recast we've seen so far is of Allie's mom. And I think that's because the actress had just retired. And that wasn't really a huge character from the first movie. They've always tried, which is great. John, Josh, and Hayden have always tried to get the original performers back, which is wonderful. But in that case, very small character. I don't think anyone would call Allie's mom as sort of like this iconic fan favorite character. So in that case, I think you can recast the part. And the actress in the Cobra Kai did marvelously well in the role. And I didn't notice that there was a change. I didn't go, whoa, that's not Allie's mom. So but I think Chad McQueen, I think if he's not going to come back, we should probably leave Dutch in prison. That's my thought. That's my thought on that. But it's an option. They could recast the character. Governor, wonderful. Oh, Andrew, great to see you. Channel member, amazing thoughts on the Cobra Kai series. Voluminous knowledge of the series. Mike Barnes played it very well in Karate Kid 3, but it was interesting when he snapped the tree, as Silver hadn't directed him to do that. That was him hurting Daniel for making him work to fulfill his contract. Right. Indeed. And, I know Mike Barnes, Sean Kanan had talked about playing Mike Barnes, and his impression was that there was probably some things that we didn't see between Mike Barnes and Terry Silver. And I know we've talked about this a while ago on the channel, maybe Terry Silver coaching Mike Barnes or manipulating Mike Barnes, because obviously Mike Barnes had to do a lot more than what he signed up for originally. So Terry Silver was manipulating him. And it's possible that he kind of put these thoughts into Mike Barnes' head, like put the pressure on, like, you need to do this. You need to get him to sign whatever it takes. And, so I think that's possible. that I think you're right. Silver hadn't really directed him to do that. That was kind of an improvised moment of him intimidating Daniel. Yeah, and that's the thing. Terry Silver may have just put that pressure on him, and he decided to do it. He decided to act on that and take matters into his own hands. And yeah, that was a little overboard. It was mental manipulation on Mike Barnes's part for sure. Yeah, great point, Governor. Great point. Call to Cobra. What if Hector Salazar and Kreese know each other? And after Kreese broke out of jail, Hector was there to pick him up. It's possible. It's possible. The thing is, I don't know if Kreese would have gotten around as much, say, as Terry Silver. Like, I think you could say Terry Silver in that Terry was doing decades of shady work in developing countries with his toxic waste and everything he was doing. So it's possible he could have run into characters like Hector Salazar, who in Ecuador might have held a lot of power, and Terry could have done some work, say in Ecuador, that type of thing. But John Kreese, I don't know. He seems like the kind of guy that may not have gotten around as much. Maybe only when he was funded by Terry Silver, say, to go to Tahiti, that type of thing. So it's an interesting theory. I don't know. I would say that maybe it's slightly more likely that Terry knows Hector than Kreese. Bryce Production says no recasts. Yeah, you're right. Unless it's absolutely necessary. And I really think that was the issue, is that perhaps the actress who originally played Allie's mom was just at an age right now where she just wasn't acting. So in that case, they needed the character for the scene, and so they needed to recast. But they have, I think, safely put Dutch in prison. Nerd World says if they want to bring Dutch back, they could maybe recast him. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. It's possible. Jay says, Jay Wiggin, CGI Dutch. That's so funny. That's great. I'll say this again. I did see Martial Law with him, Cynthia Rothrock, and this is Chad McQueen, Cynthia Rothrock, and David Carradine, and that was actually way more fun than I expected it would be. And I did watch it with Riff Tracks, so watch either the movie, or if you like Riff Tracks, I recommend that one. That was a really, really good one. Josh Marino says, Ken, do you think David Chatra and Thomas Ian Griffith would have great chemistry? Terry and Tom Cole in the same scene. Wow. Yeah. I won't say whether or not I've kind of dreamed of that scenario myself, and of those scenes coming together. Yeah, if you guys watch Cobra Kai, there's definitely a whole story after that's planned. Hopefully we get to do something like that someday. But that would be a lot of fun. And to answer your question, yes, I think they would have amazing chemistry. It would be incredible to see. 100%. Talking Star Wars, thank you so much for the super chat. Help support the channel. Really appreciate it. I wonder if at the end of season 5, when the cops come, does Daniel and Johnny believe Kreese is dead, or no, he's not dead? I think they know he got out of prison, because he that's a good question though. At what point did they catch that? Was it at the point that they thought he was killed in prison, or that he escaped from prison? I got the impression from watching that it was a bit more dramatic than that, because the whole idea was than him just dying, because it's almost like, hey, hopefully Terry Silver and John Kreese can be cellmates. And then it's like, oh, did you not hear what happened? To me, it almost seemed like it's that John Kreese escaped. But I like that. I think that's a very viable idea, that maybe at that point he hadn't escaped and just he was in brawl. I think the only thing is they made it seem like not too much time happened. Like they rushed him down to the doctor, and then Kreese did his thing and got out fairly quickly. So I think news would have gotten out that the doctor and the guards were hurt, that Kreese had escaped, and he was out. That's my thought. But I love that. I love that idea. Let's see. David Harris, not to be confused with the same Hong martial art. Right. So that, yes, I'm very specifically talking about the Chad McQueen martial law. Check if you enjoy those action movies like early 90s. This is probably, if you're talking about an early 90s direct to video action movie, this might be the best one I've seen. I'm not necessarily a connoisseur, but it really, I think, did everything you want a direct to video action movie. It could have been released in theaters. I think. Nerd World says, I hope Daniel does not believe that Kreese died because he experienced it. Yeah. That's indeed. Governor says, did Terry set up Tom Cole in business as a favor to Willie? Ooh, I don't know. I don't know if I can give anything away. I definitely have some ideas on that, but it'd be interesting. Regardless of anything, I really hope we get to see Tom Cole again. And I've long brought up the possibility that the Coles, hey, we're all a dynasty, and might be all related to Willie Cole, Tom Cole. We don't know. I think it would be kind of fun to see that, the back end of what's going on. You can take back end however you wish. Marianella Gomez says, Barney's cameo, How I Met Your Mother. Many have the theory that Cobra Kai series was born there. Yeah, absolutely. And I can't remember what year that cameo was, but I also want to point out in 2007, there was the No More Kings music video directed by William Zabka called Sweep the Leg. And if you haven't seen it, definitely check that out. And I can't remember if that came out 2007, if that was before that episode of I Met Your Mother or not. But definitely you can, if you watch the music video for Sweep the Leg, you can see maybe a lot of ideas started there that may have been brought over to Cobra Kai. I think including Kreese smoking a cigar. I think that was the first time we saw that. So very, very cool. Talking Straight with Nate. Hey, Ken, Happy New Year. Nate, just want to let you know, we were talking about your theory about the Gardner Museum earlier. Thank you for that. That is an amazing theory. Kate Maloney, wonderful to see you again. Channel member. Thanks for supporting the channel. Hope Terry Silver tries to get in with Tom Cole and try to take over his business to get back at Daniel, but finds out Doyona laid the law down to Tom. Ooh, plot twist. Oh, poor Tom Cole. Yeah, I just love David Shatraw's Tom Cole. He's just great. And if you've seen Cobra Cole, I definitely check that out. If you're a Tom Cole fan, watch Cobra Cole. And we just had so much fun. And I think we just took that character, that type of character, to kind of a new place. And Dave is just so good. He's so inventive and he's so funny. And he can be a little intimidating too. And so I think it was so much fun kind of expanding that type of character with him. And I would love to see that fulfilled in future Cobra Kai content for sure. The Karate Wolf says, I want to see more of Bobby because he was actually the first Cobra student who showed that you can actually come out on the good side, even if you have trained in the Cobra Kai dojo. I agree with you. And I'm kind of surprised. There's so much going on in the series. I totally get it. But it does seem like Bobby, being such a good old friend to Johnny and being so familiar with the Cobra Kai style, I don't know. It's just interesting that Johnny hasn't turned to Bobby yet for a bit more help. I think Bobby would be able to lend a lot of insight and wisdom, especially since he's a pastor, not a priest now. But obviously he's counseling people and watching people go through different things in life and helping people now. Maybe he would provide some wisdom on how to approach this whole thing. So I hope we can see more of Bobby, and I'd like to see him interact with Daniel. I think he could probably give some advice to Daniel that he sorely needs, and how to handle everything. So yes. So guys, before I will just wrap this up because we've gotten a little bit of past this theory about Mike Barnes. But so the theory that Mike Barnes is Tori's father, I think it's more on the crazy side. It's kind of fun, but especially with what we know now of Tori and Mike Barnes in Cobra Kai season 5, I think this is probably not too likely. So we'll get to some of your comments here. Kate Maloney says Tom Cole is a perfect used car salesman. Yes, indeed, he is. I agree. And it's funny when you consider that, of course, Willie Cole is a DA. He's a lawyer. People might also call lawyers sleazy. Maybe it's kind of an interesting family of sleaziness, I think. James Among 007, thank you so much, channel member, and also supporting with his super chat. Thanks so much, James. Really appreciate it. I found out a few days ago that there was almost a Rocky Balboa G.I. Joe figure, and I had a crazy idea of a Karate Kid G.I. Joe crossover. Imagine Terry and Cobra Commander working together. What do you think? I love that. here's the thing. Terry Silver is this amazing character that could fit in so many different franchises. I could see him fitting into G.I. Joe in a second. He's the kind of character that should have a G.I. Joe action figure. People have talked about Terry Silver being a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles character, like somehow involved in that universe. It's like there's something about Terry Silver that's just very universal and it can apply to all these franchises. So I'll be honest with you guys. I think Terry Silver is probably, connected to almost everything and everyone in the world, franchises or real life. That's how powerful I think Terry Silver is. 100%. Take it to the bank. Thank you so much, James. I really appreciate your comment. Nerd World, Bobby and Jimmy also helping the kids. Yeah, I know that's the thing. You would kind of think that Johnny would call on them for help, especially when they're going through all this stuff. And maybe they will. Maybe if the stakes are now at the international level, maybe all hands are on deck and he will call his former Cobras out. Yeah, it's also interesting. Bobby never had any interactions with John Kreese. And also I thought it was interesting that Miguel knew about Tommy dying, or at least that Johnny's friend died. And right in that same scene with John Kreese, and I guess Johnny maybe didn't mention to John Kreese that Tommy died, because it would seem like, at least at that point, Johnny would talk to Kreese about that and tell him that Tommy died. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting, I don't know. Maybe that was a cut scene. Not sure. JGS says Kreese flies to Mexico. Yeah. Avoid the law. Here's about fighting ring meets Hector. Hector discovers backpack left by Miguel. Yep. Never left with the backpack. That's an interesting thought. Who would go to Mexico? That's fascinating. I think that's totally possible. Other people have also suggested that maybe he'll meet up with Sensei Kim, and maybe he will flee to South Korea with Sensei Kim. And because they appear to have, at least in that flashback, they seem to have kind of a warm relationship. And remember, Sensei Kim asked for John Kreese when she arrived in Cobra Kai season 5. And Terry basically, kind of like, yeah, don't worry about him. So maybe she'll take him with her to South Korea. Maybe that's how he'll escape the law as well. Some interesting possibilities. Kate says the only way Cobra Kai can wrap up successfully is to mend the bridges between Daniel and Bobby and Jimmy. Yeah, that would be nice to see. It would be nice to see all these classic characters on the same page finally. It would give them some nice closure to that first Karate Kid movie. Great comment. Marianella says Willie Cole, Tom Cole, and Ken Cole in the 6th season. Wow, that would be wild. I can't say I'm opposed to it. That'd be fun, but thank you. That's a very nice thought. I definitely think that Tom Cole should I would love to see him, and Willie Cole. I'd love to see him too. That would be great. Do we have any other kind of crazy theories? Let's see. Oh yeah. Well, I'll throw this up here. I don't know if it's a crazy theory. I hear it a lot. You guys will have to ask me. You'll have to tell me what you think. John Kreese. Okay, John Kreese. The theory is that he is going to be redeemed. That there is going to be, before the end of the series, there is going to be a redemption arc. Is this a crazy theory or not? Obviously, we know John Kreese has done a lot of bad things throughout the Cobra Kai series and the Karate Kid movies. He's caused a lot of pain. He has kind of a warped view of humanity. And so does it make sense for John Kreese to have a redemption arc, or would you want him to? I don't know. I'm kind of split on this. Like, as long as like the character remains John Kreese, I think that's what's important. I don't know, and I guess another question is, if he ends up doing something good, or maybe something to help Daniel and Johnny, does that make him redeemed if it's just one thing? Or does he have to completely sort of change his outlook and his character? So I don't know. I think if he does something that is good, or quote nice, or something to help Daniel or Johnny or the kids, is he fully redeemed for everything? I think that could be possible, where he does something, maybe I don't know, as an apology, or does something as well as he can to make up for some of what he's done, maybe. But I don't know if I see him being a completely redeemed character, because then I think I can't imagine Kreese as a softie. if they're going to keep him around, which I hope they do, other people have said they think Kreese might die. But if they keep him around, I can't imagine them turning the character into a softie. Like, I think there has to be an element of danger. I think his outlook on life is sort of what defines the character. And my thought is that we could see him do maybe a good turn to make up for something. And maybe Johnny and Daniel and Kreese come to some kind of understanding, even though they don't see eye to eye. And I think that's possible, but I don't know if he would be redeemed and become, say, like a good guy, or be like totally sorry for everything he's done and become a changed person. So I don't know. Tell me what you guys think about that. The redemption arc is kind of a big thing that people are talking about. Tigterrysilverrocks, member and executive producer. Thank you. Kreese and Silver need to redeem their differences. Right. And that's another thing. It's like, whose relationship is going to be redeemed here? Do we think John Kreese is headed towards becoming a better person? Or even if he's not, are he and Terry Silver going to make up? Are they going to come together again? Can they do that? It seems like what Terry Silver did to John Kreese was pretty bad, and they'd have to do something major to get through that, I think, to become friends again. Another thing is, look at what happened with Johnny and Daniel with Kreese. They kind of screwed him over in the prison. They were promising him legal help, and they basically said F you. And I mean, I don't know if that really helps the cause of them reconciling with each other. So it's a question, would Kreese be redeemed in that he would be made up, or they would make up with Daniel and Johnny? Or is it more like Kreese might actually flip back and join forces with someone like Kim Da-eun or Terry Silver? I don't know. Nerd World says, not redeemed, but maybe apologizing to Johnny because they have a special bond. Yeah, maybe so. Maybe there's that measure of what he can do. Maybe say that he was misunderstood. Maybe he didn't, it's interesting though, because we've heard him say that before. Cobra Edit says he should get redeemed by saving Johnny or Daniel from Silver, and then he gets killed in the fight, because I can't see Kreese being soft after being redeemed. I agree. It'd be tough to see him kind of as a softie, kind of, I don't know, showing up with a smile, bringing Carmen and Amanda flowers, and I can't see John Kreese doing that. Maybe giving up karate, starting Koala Kai instead of Cobra Kai, maybe. Jennifer Sprague says, I don't think that's a crazy theory. Sorry, hit wrong button. I think it's possible Kreese can be redeemed. That's interesting. It's like, what would it take? So if you really want Kreese to be redeemed, could he do all those things necessary to be redeemed? Maybe. And I guess that's the question of, what does that look like for Kreese to be redeemed? Yeah, maybe it's possible. Governor, channel member, good to see you. The important thing is that whatever they do stays true to the character. Series are ruined when everything becomes plot driven over character. Yeah, Andrew, I completely agree with this. We find a lot of times in series, especially serialized series, which have become very popular in the wake of streaming, because streaming platforms want you to watch the next episode. So each episode ends in a cliffhanger because you need to keep going. And so what's important to do is to introduce shock and surprise and things that keep people watching. And so usually that shock and surprise involves, especially with lower tier shows, subverting expectations through kind of forced means. And usually those forced means are changing the character, or something that belies the character, something that takes away from who we know the character is, where we don't believe it. And, we've seen, and I'm trying to think of like an example of that happening, but, we've seen that before. And if you think about it, you could probably see it in a lot of different shows that you watch, where a character doesn't behave like they should, but it's done so that the writers can get from point A to point B to point C. Because it would be fun if, what if someone turns evil, or what if someone kills someone else? Even though it wouldn't make sense for the character, but they kind of force it. So I think Andrew brings up a really good point. It's like you have to stay true, especially to long-running series. The heartbeat of a series is its character structure, the characters themselves. If you start to lose who the characters are, you eventually lose interest because that's who you're attached to, are the characters. So I agree with you. Whatever they do, hopefully needs to stay true to the character of Kreese, and it has to make sense. So hopefully they can't, they won't do. And I know John, Josh, and Hayden, they're brilliant. I don't think they're going to let that happen. But I agree. It has to stay true to the characters. David Harris, Kreese has softened a little with respect to Tori. But yeah, I don't see him becoming a good guy, at least not without going through something major. Right. Yeah, and it's like maybe there's a way for Kreese to become more sympathetic to certain people, like Tori, because he understands what she's going through. And maybe there's a way for his whole character to become sympathetic, a little more sympathetic. But yeah, it's going to be, I don't know if he could become a good guy. I think that's a good point. I think that's a great point. Let's see what else. James Among 007 says Kreese and Terry make amends at the end of season 6, and they both retreat to TV together. At this point, I'd say they have no reason to be in the All Valley at this point. Yeah, I know it's going big, right? It's going big. It's worldwide, and that would be so funny. I love that idea of them going to Tahiti. Yeah, that would be probably a good cap for them. Maybe at some level they'd just be proud if Cobra Kai gets recognition, and even if it gets passed off to a new generation, they got it going. I don't know. We'll see. The show is called Cobra Kai, so I assume that Cobra Kai will somehow become victorious in the end. Silver actually tried to get better and be a good person, but Kreese harbors way too much hatred to ever want to be redeemed. It's a good point. Is Kreese in some ways worse off than Terry? Is he going to be a harder person to turn than Terry Silver would be? It's a good question. Sebastian, Kreese and Silver have their own very different ways of being soft and rough at the same time. Yep. Josh says Martin Cove, Thomasine Grove, Michael Ironside, and David Shatraw, top villains. I 100% agree. I said I want a scene with Martin Cove, Thomasine Griffith, and Michael Ironside, and the scene would explode. If you added David Shatraw to that scene, oh my God, how amazing would that be? That would be like the tension just like venting out the side. It would be so much fun to see what would happen with David Shatraw as Tom Cole in that scenario. Seema says he can be redeemed without being soft. Interesting. Very good. I hope so. If he's redeemed, I hope it's this way. Darkest Hour says biggest thing driving Kreese towards redemption would be Johnny's life on the line. I genuinely believe he sees Johnny as his son. Yeah. And as Terry Silver said, Johnny is Kreese's weakness. So what would he do? Would he become much more sympathetic if he were trying to save Johnny? Tigterrysilverrocks says, I don't think they should redeem him to good. He needs to have a showdown with Silver and then become friends again, then back to their manipulating ways. Hey, I have an affection for this idea. Yeah, I kind of like it. I think it would be fun somehow if that were possible. I love it. Great comment. Talking straight with Nate. Maybe, I hope not. The series ends like Newhart did, and it was a dream, since that's how Cobra Kai started, with him dreaming about the tournament. Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you're right. So Newhart did that. I think Dallas did something like that. One of the later seasons of Roseanne did something like that. That's kind of interesting. I don't know. My question is, if they did this, would everyone revolt? So everyone watching this right now who's invested time in watching this series, would you revolt if you saw like a scenario at the end that's like, oh, it was all a dream? I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on all that. JGS said, have any crazy theories ever come true? That's a really good point. Have any crazy theories come true? I don't know if any crazy ones have. No, I think with the theories, especially the crazy ones, a lot of people were speculating maybe something similar would be Allie was going to be Miguel's doctor to fix his back, and that's how she'd come back into the series. And you saw that they actually, in the background in one of the shots, they teased someone from the back who looked like she could have been Elizabeth Shue. And it was almost like just trolling the fans, but it wasn't her. And so I think with those theories, if you call them crazy or kind of outlandish or something, it seems like they sort of toy with the fans on these. So it's pretty cool. Cobra Kai World, what's up, Ken? Hey, what's up, Cobra Kai World? Thanks for joining us. Well, let's see. What else is going on, guys? Actually, we've been going we've had a great KenCast today. Here's what I would say. Thank you for watching. If there are other theories or other things you want to talk about, let me know. Put it in the comments below the video, kind of in addition to this live chat, because the comments, when you comment below the video, it lives forever and it's very easy for people to see. They don't have to watch the whole video to see everyone's comments. So put that down there if there are any other theories you want to see, because I think this is something we can talk a lot about going forward, and we can bring in luminous minds from the Cobra Kai Karate Kid world to talk about all these things. I think it's kind of a fun discussion talking about these theories. But also let me know also in the comments, do you want me to maybe have a discussion with some others about the next Karate Kid? Are there any other discussions that you'd like us to have on KenCast? Let us know. And I want to thank everyone who is watching today. It's wonderful to talk to you every week. Every time I get a chance, it's wonderful to talk with you. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you to all the channel members who support. Thank you for all the super chats today. Thank you for all the subscribers. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to this channel and you've enjoyed this stream, go ahead and hit like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything. It's totally free. It really helps support the channel and the algorithm, and helps more people to see it. And it's great. It's just great to know that you guys are subscribing, and it's wonderful to talk with you. So I hope you have a great rest of your day, your night, whatever remains of your weekend. And I look forward to talking to you again this week. And I think we'll be talking with Cobra Kai Karate, Noah, this week. So stay tuned, and we have a lot going on. Again, my best to you, and have a great rest of the day.